Welcome to the second part of our two-part look at the Ten Commandments in Christianity. The penalty for breaking some of these laws is hideous. For breaking the Sabbath, death by stoning. For dishonouring your parents, death by stoning. For adultery, death by stoning. Maybe some of the Christians who like the Ten Commandments posted outside courtrooms or schools would also like the penalties posted alongside them. Were these laws ever used? Yes, they were. In Numbers 15 we can read a real horror story. Imagine the man in this story as your grandfather. While the people of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath day, and they brought him to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation. What was done with this poor man? And the Lord said to Moses, "The man shall be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones outside the camp." And they brought him outside the camp and stoned him to death with stones, as the Lord commanded Moses. On God's command, a man was stoned to death by the entire congregation, presumably including his own family, for picking up sticks on the wrong day of the week. This was the control that Moses wanted. The reason given for the second commandment, not making idols: "For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the fathers to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me." This is not justice. It's wrong to punish a child or a grandchild for the sins of the father or grandfather. The only way Christians can soften this is by saying that punishing does not mean punishing. Also, this is the one place where we learn God's name. Do not worship any other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. That's Exodus 34. So God's name is jealous. What about the fifth commandment? Honour your father and mother. Again, the penalty for disobedience is death by stoning. We read about how this was carried out brutally in Deuteronomy chapter 21. But what about children's rights? Surely these commands are addressed and aimed to adults. This seems a tool for control, nothing more. What about the sixth commandment, "Thou shalt not kill"? This is far too vague to be of much use in law. What about things like self-defense, war, mercy killing, accidental killing, legal killing? The verb used here is ratzak, and the NIV translators tried to avoid any difficulty by translating it as murder. But does it mean murder? No, it doesn't. It's not nearly that clear. We find ratzak used in Deuteronomy 4 as well as other places. Then Moses set aside 3 cities east of the Jordan, to which anyone who had killed a person could flee if he had unintentionally killed his neighbour without malice aforethought. The verb used there again is ratzak. It does not mean murder. Only a few chapters later, God himself orders people to murder. In Exodus 32:27, a truly horrible passage, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says: "Each man strap a sword to his side. Go back and forth through the camp from one end to the other, each killing his brother and friend and neighbour." The Levites did as Moses commanded, and that day about 3,000 of the people died. The Ten Commandments do contain some useful advice. Don't kill. Don't steal. Every society has had rules like this, at least as far back as the oldest civilizations which kept written records. Don't lie. Don't commit adultery. These are not necessarily criminal actions, just morally questionable ones. To summarise, we have 2 possible sets of 10 commandments. It seems that the real set contains mainly irrelevant commands in Exodus 34. The popular set contains one that God is unsure about his reasons for. It misses out some key laws, like rape and slavery. It shows God as insecure and jealous. It includes relatively trivial laws, and it hands out horrific penalties for disobedience, like death by stoning for not resting on the Sabbath. The fact is that while the Jews were busy mucking around with superstitions and sacrificing millions of goats and chickens, elsewhere on the planet Plato was writing his Republic. While others were learning science, mathematics and agriculture, the Jews were wandering around lost, killing people who picked up sticks on the wrong day of the week, and murdering teenagers who were rebellious. And before you accuse me of being anti-Semitic, which I'm not, I'm talking about a legend written about them about 3,000 years ago. So much for the Ten Commandments. A better moral code. How beautiful would the world have been if these had been the Ten Commandments? And there are many suggested variations like this. First, proclaim the natural dignity and inherent worth of all human beings in all places and in all circumstances. Respect the life and property of others at all times. Practice tolerance and open-mindedness towards the choices and lifestyles of others. Share with those who are less fortunate and mutually assist those who are in need of help. Use neither lies, nor spiritual doctrine, nor temporal power to dominate and exploit others. Rely on reason, logic and science to understand the universe and to solve life's problems, avoiding superstitions which numb the mind and are an obstacle to thinking for oneself. Conserve and improve the Earth's natural environment, land, soil, water, air and space, as humankind's common heritage. Resolve differences and conflicts cooperatively without resorting to violence or to wars. Organise public affairs according to individual freedom and responsibility through political and economic democracy. Develop one's intelligence and talents through education and effort in order to reach fulfilment and happiness for the betterment of humanity and of future generations.